Guru Kripa Kevalam. Namaste and welcome everyone to Satsang today. Sadguru Sri Muji Baba ki Jai. How many words do we need to understand before we can see this room around us? How many concepts do we need to have so that we can perceive this space, the manifest space? So, if words cannot help us even perceive this manifestation, then words cannot help us even to recognize that which is beyond perception, prior to perception. So, at best, they can be used as pointers to say, okay, look, open your eyes, or close your eyes. Something like that can point you towards the looking at the manifest or not looking at the manifest. So, at best, they can be used in this way to guide the looking. But the vein of the spiritual seeker is the idea that I will get a conceptual understanding one day which is so broad that that will replace or that will be my actual self-recognition or Atma Gyan. That can never be. So the point of the words in Satsang is to point in this simple way and say, look this way, don't go there. And the song that we just heard actually clarified most of it. She sang free from mental slavery. She hears her heart within, hears the call of this divinity which is ever present. And all of us can verify for ourselves that when we are not caught up in conceptual ideas from the mind, what do we find? Whose presence is here? Let's hear what Chanda is saying.
Yeah, Father.
Namaste, my dear.
Father, I haven't reported in for a very long time, Father. So I'm just reporting in and doing my pranam and gratitude to you, Father, and thank you for your blessing. Also,
Very
Father, wanted to. Is my voice coming clear, Father?
Yes, my dear. Yes.
There's just one Zen corn you'd left with us when I was in Bangalore, which is about the bird in a jar.
Yeah.
So it came to me intuitively. Why is the bird in the jar a problem, and who thinks it's a problem?
Mm-hmm.
Just want to surrender that at your feet.
Yes, yes, yes. And then, what is the answer to the
Well, Father, actually,
how to help the goose?
help not needed.
Not needed.
It came to me. It came to me that whoever thinks it's a problem can help, but neither the goose nor the jar needs anything. It's also said, I write to Shiv in the morning, Father. It's my contemplative practice. And what it said was, ask your teacher, why is the bird in the jar a problem? And who thinks it's a problem? It also said, my world has no problems, only solutions. And that came to me and I was saying,
Now we'll have to find another koan then.
what I do, Father, in the morning. First thing I wake up, I write, since my Lord is Shiva, I just write to him and go blah, 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 blah. And at some point, the blah, blah becomes blah, blah, blee.
Yeah.
And then some other voice then speaks up. And it says what it has to say in a short way. And then there is just quietness.
It's good. As long as the last part is there, which it leaves you with openness and emptiness, the quietude, as you called it, is good. It's good.
I'm hoping to see you, Father, soon. So next week, I'm coming.
Oh, very good. Very good. Very happy to hear that, my dear.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
I also visualize you, and I meet you every time I visualize you, and I'm keeping that as part of my sadhana, because you are the presence. So that's the way I just make sure that we are together.
Very good. All.
Thank
you. Okay, let's go to Keisha.
Hello, Father.
My dear.
My heart always starts racing before I talk to you, so. But it's okay, just heart racing.
Yeah.
I'm always so happy to see you, and I'm so grateful for these satsangs. They really are my lifeline and just a wonderful reminder, and I'm just so grateful. So thank you for having these. Thank you so much.
Very welcome.
So, I just haven't talked to you in a while, face to face and verbally. So I thought I would check in today, this morning for me. I rewatched our last satsang that we had together last week, and specifically the ending when you were talking to Jada, and I don't remember who else it was, but you were talking about work, and the best thing, your answer is always the same, but in different ways. But this one really resonated with me, and I've been using it, is just remain open and empty. The best thing you can do for your life, for your future, is just remain open and empty. So that's been my reminder. And the insights keep coming, gradually here and there. And they just come and go, they come and go, they come and go. The freshest insight has been that you cannot insert yourself in time. You can only be here. There's only this space here. There's no way to be in the future. It's not possible. And that's been really present.
Yes, as long as the idea of here is not like something in a time sandwich, you see, not something stuck between past and future, and I'm just like here and I'm just moving like that, slice of cheese or something, and I can only be that slice of cheese. The here-ness which the sages are talking about is beyond space and time.
Yes.
So that's an important distinction to make, because many times we can just feel like, oh, I'm just here, which means like I'm in the content of what is here. Like I'm in this Like when the time is 5:17 and so many seconds, I'm here, you see. So I can only be here because I cannot reach into the future and I cannot reach into the past. So I'm just like this piece of vegetable or something. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to clarify this point. The present and the here-ness, which is pointed to in satsang, is that which is beyond the notion of space and time, beyond both the notions. Actually, one big notion, but we usually understand it as two. So, so your being actually is not limited to any sort of time. So that here-ness, you see, is opposed to the conceptual idea of the present. Okay? Because the mind's idea of present is okay here, okay? Jumping from moment to moment into its idea of the present moment. You see, but the being's here-ness or the being's present, you see, is beyond the play of space and time, beyond all the content of creation. And when, as you're recognizing yourself, you're seeing this, that this linear flow, you see, is a notional flow, but actually for my being, and definitely for that which is aware of my being, my absolute uh, unadulterated self, you see, is completely beyond any such notions.
Yes. Yes. And I have to admit, sometimes it's both.
Yeah.
It's not always, so yeah, I have to confess that for sure. Sometimes
Yeah.
it
So
can be notional and sometimes it's not, but when it's not notional, it's not, I cannot, there's nothing that has been done to know that.
So the good way to experiment with that is to see, because sometimes earlier in satsang when I started sharing, then many of the sangha would say, "But I'm just here," and I would say, "What does it mean to be here?" And they were speaking spatially in terms of just sitting here, or then also it can be in terms of here, in terms of time. Now, see from your direct experience, your pure perception of even that which is manifesting, whether you can truly conclude any spatial boundary or any temporal boundary of any sort. Naturally, notionlessly, do you find yourself in any constraint of space or time? Are you like an object being carried forward into something, or are you something which is limited by any sensational boundary? And all these experiments to check whether the boundaries are sensations within you, or you are within the sensations which we call the body or the boundary, you see, are helpful to see that actually all of this we may say, if we have to say something, all of this we may say arises within us, but we can never say that I am within this time or space. You see? So the reminder to come into the present is a reminder actually to recognize your true nature, which is beyond the universe. You see? So we may say it also includes the universe, but it is definitely not constricted by the universe. So it is not the same as the worldly reminder where in some other ways of teaching you may say, okay, but just see that you're here, which means you are here as an object. The objective body-mind functioning is just here. So it may work in all of that differently. But here the reminder to recognize what you are is to recognize that your presence, you see, that is present, is not constrained or not limited to just the emotional ideas of space and time. Otherwise, what can happen is uh, uh, the one that says, okay, I'm just here, I cannot go into the future, I cannot be in the past. You see, many times can also take itself to be the body mind, which is just stuck in this moment in time or something. So the representation that we are buying about ourselves is the primary of primary importance in the pointing. See? So if we end up saying, okay, I'm just this stuff which is just here, it has no ability to speeden up time or go back in time in a time machine, that kind of stuff, then that is still taking yourself to be something which is too limited.
Yes.
But to see that you just are, or even when we say are here, we're just talking about your presence, which is always palpable, which is always tangible, but it is unconstrained by any sort of constraint of either space or time. How can we put this into a narrative? I I came to Satsang with Ananta and I recognized that I am not in time. No? Third narrative, isn't it? Like, we came to Satsang with Ananta, is it? But then you saw that you're not in time, then who came to Satsang with Ananta? It's irreconcilable in some way. We cannot compute both of those and put them together. It's like the Zen koan that Chanda was talking about before this, where it's not computable in that way. Our intellect cannot fathom this.
Yes, I hear you say even one thing is too much.
Yes. You see? So it is too much in the sense just like one speck of dust is too much. You see, a speck of dust is too much because it has the ability to blur our vision. In the same way, even one conceptual idea can make everything seem so blurry. Whereas I'm constantly pointing you to that which you know without having to know conceptually anything.
Yes.
And to free ourselves from the condition of trying to squeeze this non-conceptual understanding into making it a verbal or a conceptual, stateable sort of notion. So if I was to ask all of you, what did you understand? See? If you were able to say, this I saw that I'm not in time, actually, like that is just scratching the surface of it. But I'm hoping that the inside, the beyond the concept, the true seeing that you have about yourself with these pointings, you are completely tongue-tied in trying to explain them. So, in the tangible tasting of your beingness, here-ness, say something true about it.
I want to, but there's a knowing that it's just a thought, like that it's
What's a thought? Is that knowing also too much? So we can use it, of course, to communicate and to express. But like a thought, just like the body or the world or even consciousness or whatever, is just labels for things which we can't truly understand. So,
yes.
and a thought especially is tricky because it's a self-referential thing. It's claiming to define itself in some way, which it cannot do. So, in the same way, when we say body, for example, What is body? What is the body? It's just that there's a soup of sensation, and then we're trying to make sense of the soup. And we're saying, okay, this is the alphabet soup. Now this is the A, this is B, this is C. You see? So all this soup of sensation is there. And as the soup, it is too much for the mind to handle. You see? So the mind is lost. Like, I can't navigate this stuff till you give me layers of, and he was talking about this last time, layers of abstraction, so that I can then reach them as objects and say, okay, now this whole thing is the world. Now I can deal with it because I understand, oh, the world is like this. You see? But as the whole ocean of perception, it's unmeetable by the mind. You see? Now, once we have one object, then we can also say, okay, within the world, this set of perceptions that I perceive, let's call that body. You see? Because otherwise, to meet it like that is too crazy. There's too much light in the eyes. There's too much other perception. So I can't meet it like this. So let me avoid looking at it by giving it a label. Okay? So that is why it is mental slavery, because it's an avoidance of a true and open meeting by using labels. And then what happens is we use those labels to make a narrative, and then spend the rest of our life just dealing with the narrative and never with what is being perceived.
Yes, I confess to that.
All of us. It's universal. This story is universal. So this is the human condition. See? So what happens is, that's why I keep talking about direct perception, because meet everything as it is. You see, absent of even the notion of meeting, and then you may lose the ability to put your life into a narrative, but you will find yourself free. And to cut a long story short, just find yourself free. But to then deal with it at a conceptual layer and say, okay, now this is my Sangha, they want to hear the truth, I am the Guru, you see, I better speak the right stuff, and all of that, and say, okay, now what came out of this mouth? So then dealing with it like conceptually, then I'm not meeting you open and empty. I'm just now caught up in the mental story about what this is and what should happen, you see, which is too constrictive. Whereas in this moment, there's so much on this Zoom screen, you see, that has so much to meet in this beautiful play of God, that I miss all of that if I was to just meet it like, okay, this is what's happening here.
I think
Right?
it's selfish too, because it's wanting to experience it all as a person. It's wanting to connect with you as a person, and it's wanting to have these experiences as a person. So it's very selfish,
And the thing about small s selfishness is that what it claims to experience, you see, is nothing, because it's just yearning for opportunities to add to its narrative. You see, whereas in the true meeting, which is empty of this selfishness, you see, you're meeting your own divinity, your own presence. You see, and there's no greater experience than that. So grasping actually is counterproductive. It is the definition of counterproductivity. Anytime we grasp at something, you see, we may be able to insert something into a narrative, but that doesn't give us anything really. But empty of the grasping, you see, that one moment of openness and emptiness is so vast. You see, your mind may not be able to narrate it, but your heart truly meets itself so open, so naked, and that is my constant, relentless advice. That don't insert yourself into any sort of narrative, and meet yourself open and empty, because it will only be a mind trick to try to expand yourself through the process of grasping. But nobody is ever able to do that, you see, because your starting point itself is completely flawed. The starting point, if it is that I am this body mind, and then I can make myself greater by improving upon my story, and claiming a mindness over a lot of other things that I see objectively, you see, in this manifest play, just by the claim of this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, I'm able to blow myself, you're missing the universality of your being already the ocean you are. The ocean which contains everything is what you are. Now, once you take on the pose as the wave, and then say, I want to have this wave also, I want to have that wave also, I want to, you see, so that I can be a bigger wave. And the ultimate ego desire is also to try and become the ocean, isn't it? Now, the thing is that it can never become. It always, you already are, but your conceptual idea of yourself can never become that. You see, so this is the whole leela in a way. You see, it's like the dropping can seem a bit difficult because it feels scary for a while. That if I let go, you see, will I lose this? Will I lose that? And of course, I've been told that you won't lose anything. That is true. But can I really take the risk? See, can I take the chance? And moving from head to heart is all about taking the chance. That cow that jumped over the moon that Guruji talks about is this quantum leap. You have to leave the hand of Maya to meet the truth. You can't hope to hedge your bets at some time and say, okay, let me just try to like have more and more and more like this, and uh, and come to the truth about what I am. It just doesn't work like that. You see, somewhere you just have to.
No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and it does. It's basically it also feeds suffering. I've noticed too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if I said to you that okay now, Paula and you are best friends, is it? You're best friends. Huh? Yeah,
We
she's
are.
just completely devoted to you, and you are going to be completely devoted. Now, what actually happened? Nothing really happened except that you added this to your narrative. You see, and both of you added that to the narrative and said, okay, now we have this conceptual relationship now. You see? And then in the conceptual relationship, we can claim that we are better off than what we were a few seconds ago because now my circle is broader. You see, my circle is broader. But what really happened? She continues to be an object in your perception, and nothing can change that. And whatever reality there is to her is always already in your heart. And this is good advice for everyone, anyone who's grasping for relationships or stuck in some sort of oppressive sort of relationship. To see that, what really happens. You see, you have a conceptual notion of mindness or something. You see, so there's a label which seemingly connects two objects which don't actually ever exist anyway. And then with that claim, the mind feels better that I can insert this one also into my narrative now. And therefore, he or she has become mine. You see, and then I feel like I'm better off than I was before this conceptual connection was made. You see, but the reality of what anyone ever is always fully available in your heart. You see, that one being is not just lip service; it's truly just one being. You see? And all that is the ocean, and all these expressions are just waves of that ocean. So where to meet your full kingdom, where to meet your full vastness. It can never be through adding conceptual motions to your narratives. All that is manifest, and that which is beyond all manifestation is already yours. See? But nothing that is anything can ever belong to that which never existed. So, the, how to check whether we are talking about something which is true or something that is non-existent? If it is insertable in a narrative, you see, it is non-existent. If you are able to insert yourself in a narrative, then that one is not existent. No matter how high sounding or terrible sounding that narrative may be, no matter what justifications you may have for that narrative, no matter how many buts go and say, but like this, but like that, but also I have to manage. You see, there's a relative and there's an absolute, there all these ideas are there. So, as excuses to shy away from our vastness, which we are finding in our heart. You see, then we want to cut up the world into different sort of, okay, but at a relative level, this is happening. You see, we cannot say, like nobody can say, and we've been doing this experiment for the last many weeks. Can anyone tell me what is happening in one moment at the relative level? Nobody. You see, and yet we want to have ways in which we can control the way the relative goes. You see, it's impossible. And I'm not ranting, and definitely not at you, but I'm just sharing this because this is the human condition. You see, and all of our deciphering of what this is only so that we can have some sort of conceptual advantage about where we want to go. You see, and we feel like unless I know what's happening right now, how can I tell you where to go, or tell myself that this is what you should do, or this is what not what you should do. So all of this is the defense against meeting yourself open and empty and fully innocent. All strategies, all tactics, no matter what they may be the most spiritual ones. You see, but if the reference point always keeps coming back to me as body mind, you see, then no matter what the strategy or the tactic is, it is just going to end up in as a story, and the human story always then has its roller coaster ride, and we are tired of that roller coaster in some way. So, so just out of it, out of it. What does this mean now? What am I supposed to do? It's just out of it. Like even that is not an instruction. It is just like I'm presuming it's happened. You see, that's where I want to meet all of you. Beyond your ability to understand what I'm saying, and yet not gibberish. You see, it may sound like gibberish to your mind, and yet there is some aspect of you where it'll sound like pure nectar, but to your mind it may sound like pure gibberish. You see, so I want to bypass that and meet you where these words are coming from, because there we are one, and there we'll see that all idea of separation itself is just story. Thank you for allowing this segue into making it broader, so that we are looking at it, because this is the only problem in the human condition. No matter what the objective grasping may be about, you see, it is ultimately that the idea that if only it was like this, you see, if only it was like this, but you're not validating your starting point there. If you're able to say, okay, now if I just had this in my life, then my life would be better. You have definitely mistaken your starting point. Okay? Grasping is only a result of that, isn't it? Can you be all there is and say, okay, I want one more? Cannot be. So already, if you say, I want this also, or I want only this, you see, then what are you taking yourself to be? Definitely not all there is. So that's what I mean when I say the starting point itself is then wrong. You see, then that if that can be corrected, then it's better than going on the whole adventure and then realizing that, oh, it was always about the starting point.
There's still like an urge, though, of someone wanting to now take the advice to remain open and empty, like there's still that reminder that
Yeah.
that will happen, and it's still like just on our conversation, that's still a concept, maybe. But I don't know. I don't know.
Only as a neutralizing agent, no? Only as a neutralizing agent. So if you say honestly, right? If you say honestly that that is the only urge now, just to remain open and empty, you see, then even that pointing can be dropped. You see? But if you find that, okay, at this moment it may be true, but what happens is that, okay, I have this urge, I want this sometimes, I don't want that sometimes, I have this worry about that sometimes, you see, then we feel like, okay, we need a spiritual neutralizing agent, which is the pointing from the mouth of the master, which does the work of neutralizing all of that and zeroes in on just bringing us back to this openness. But if you can say with full integrity that there's nothing else except now the even the desire to be open and empty is spotted as a desire or an urge, you see, then that desire also you can be empty of. But it needs full integrity. You see, full integrity to be able to say that, because as long as there are, you see, as long as there are rodents in the kitchen, you may need the traps. But if it's all clear, and we're talking because we had some mice in the Kendra the other week. So but if it's all clear, then nothing is needed. So my advice would be that let the final pointer take care of itself. Don't worry about dropping the final one. It is just the last stick in a way, and it will also dissolve when it has no work to do. If it is unutilized, it will just vanish. Very good. Very good.
Thank you so much. I love you.
Love you too, my dear. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to Paula.
Hello, Father.
Yeah.
I feel I just want to say hello and connect with you for a while, and because now it's so clear after this, and
Very good. Very good. Very good. Good. That means that the answer that was given was also heard as your answer. You see, and that is the best approach to come to satsang, which is to realize that since the problem is in the human condition and it's pretty much universal in the human condition, then what is being spoken is also the antidote to that universal problem. You see, sometimes we may use instances of a particular narrative to demystify that, but actually we are looking at it at the root cause level. The root cause being the only spiritual problem, which is the mistaken identity of taking yourself to be one that doesn't exist. The only spiritual problem is that the only spiritual solution is to see that you're not that.
yes, yes.
So if you look at the world problems, you see what are the world problems? Relationship, health of body, financial security, and the search for meaning. These are the main world problems. All of them have the wrong guy in the center, the wrong girl in the center. So if you look at the just mute.
बैठी हूँ थैंक यू
You see? So if you look at the root of all four of those, you have to take yourself to be something first. Who wants to have a relationship? And in satsang, after maybe the search for the self, the relationship problems are number one. So, what do you have to take yourself to be to grasp at a relationship? I'm not saying relationships are bad. In the worldly play, relationships can go on, but the idea of completion through relationship is what I'm checking. What do you have to be to complete yourself with a relationship? And you look at it in all ways like that. What do you have to be to be insecure about your future?
An object, someone.
Exactly.
Yes. And that in satsang you leave us just with ourselves, nothing else but ourselves. And that sometimes is scary maybe, or very, I don't know.
You feel too open. You can
Yes.
feel too open at times. But allow yourself to experience the feeling without allowing your narrative to grasp hold of that too strongly. You know what I mean? Otherwise, what could happen is the feeling could have long come and gone also. The mind is saying, but that is really scary, I'm left with nothing. Yeah. And it's left again in the same model, which we just spoke about, with a conceptual understanding of what is happening. Whereas what is happening is far, far beyond just some little bit of experiences of fear that may come up. You see? With a atomic question like, are you aware now? You're meeting yourself in the most non-objective, non-phenomenal way, instantly. See? And that is beyond anything that you can experience in this manifest universe. Now, naturally, in the human play, when you have these insights, then some fear may come, some doubts may start coming, all of these may come. You see? And then what may happen is that we may not focus so much on that pristine insight and start to focus a lot more onto these little byproducts that are coming, because the mind can only insert this into the narrative. The insight it cannot take. You see, by definition, because you can only know that. You see, when you let go of your dependency on knowing anything else. You see, like you always know that, and yet it becomes apparent and tangible and palpable when you're not holding on to any branch of conceptual knowing. That, but that, what can the mind write about it or say about it? What happens to you when you discover that you are aware? That you are not an object, that you have no shape, that you are just this pure awareness itself. Nothing. The mind can't say anything really about that, because except to doubt it, maybe and say, did that really happen to you? Is that really my experience? I'm just seeing some dark, empty space. I'll go up to Ananta and tell him, because everybody else nods very vigorously that they are. So these are common mind tricks your mind will play on you and say, no, am I really aware? How to sit in this satsang where we just like talked about awareness so much, and for months I've been here, and then finally say, Ananta, I'm not really sure what is the difference between perception and awareness. You see? So these are the common tricks the mind will play at you. And then they will grab you, and say, yeah, but now it's too late. I should have asked these questions in the beginning. But if I come after months of this inquiry and say, this is just not my perception, how is it different from awareness? But I'm aware of these tricks. You see, I'm aware that the mind plays these tricks. And will question your insight. But I'm also aware that you can't miss it. You see, to miss it is impossible. There's the instant you check and see that, am I aware? The answer is apparent. Not even in the instant, beyond that instant. It just, I am aware. And even that conclusion is so insipid to what you are discovering. So tasteless, just as a mere signboard compared to your direct experience of yourself. Now, if you did not have any uh, desire to make anything in your narrative now, not even freedom, not even the prayer at the end of this conversation, which is I only want to come to this and Father bless me. You see, not even that. Then
Just myself.
yes, myself, because and that is the most terrible story, but it is the best story. Once upon a time, myself, and myself. Yeah. The most terrible story, and yet the best story. So now suppose that you said, okay, now all I want now is myself. You see, which you have the ability to include in your narrative. So you picked up the spiritual seeker pose, you see, which already is a bit more brittle compared to just myself. You're getting a sense of what I'm saying. No? Of course, the words are all gibberish, but you're able to meet them somewhere. So just like that, you see, just innocent, pure innocence.
The mind is again trying to manipulate all this right
Yes.
now.
Yes, but see through the manipulation. Don't avoid it. You see, don't avoid it and say, no, you come back. Oh, you see, because that is also part of the mind trick. You see, the appearance of these thought patterns and the ideas that they should not come, it's coming back. Oh, you see, all of that is both. So it tries to grab you both ways. Either take this position or take this position. Either way, you're stuck with the mind. See?
But when I say the mind, actually, the mind is speaking. I feel that this. No, it's confusing again.
Now,
because it's like an excuse from the mind to say the mind is.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So either way, whether you take the mind's ideas or you take the spiritual knowledge, which is saying, oh, the mind is coming back. You see,
Yes.
both are the mind, isn't it? So
Yes.
what I'm saying, just meet it and don't insert them into a narrative. You see? So either position then can be discarded. So the mind can say, but, what about this? But am I really that? Yeah. And then the meta mind, which is talking about the mind itself, you see, which is saying, oh, see, the mind is coming back, and this is what it always does, and you see, this it goes on like this. You see? So then there can just be this game going on. But what's happening to you?
Nothing's happening to me. No. I'm just perceiving.
Where is your boundary in perception? As you perceive, where do you start and where do you end? All of us can try. As you are perceiving, and many of you will see this body which is showing up as Ananta on the screen or in front of you. Now, in the pure perception itself, it's coming with the labels like augmented reality. So, what do you need to do to determine separation? It's useful to see like this. If you did not have the ability for a few moments to categorize, you forgot about all categories of colors, shapes, sizes, big, small, red, blue, black, all that you learned and born with it. So didn't have the ability to categorize, not perceive. You can still perceive, just like a little baby. Then where do you end? Where do you start?
There's no beginning, no end. Not even words can put end, because how can it be possible?
Yeah. And without this categorization, are you lost? Are you missing something? When I say lost, because that's the mind's idea, that I need these ideas, these categories, these labels to be able to live a productive life or to be able to live a meaningful life. You see? But have you lost meaning to your existence because you lost the labels? Has your existence lost its vibrance? Or is it actually that you taste your vibrance now for a change compared to just trying to meet life and its narrative at the same time? See, that's a dissipation of attention, and we never truly meet life. Or not never, but maybe since we are young children, we have not truly met life because we are trying to manage the story of our life along with life itself. What is shining in all of this? I don't want you to visualize anything. Don't make this like a mystical experience. Just regularly, what is here? Whose light is shining here? The light of your experiences is coming from where? Without whom would no experience be possible?
Something wants to run away from this.
Yeah, yeah.
Feels very uncomfortable.
What is your relationship with that something? So it's like you're looking out the window, there's a girl who's running away. What does that have to do with you?
I'm just.
Or you can read
observing.
the thought, and the thoughts are, I want to run away. Okay? So what does that have to do with you? If it's a pure observation that, okay, that is the proposal that the mind is giving me, saying, okay, now to enough, like let's save the rest for later or something. You see, let me just assimilate this first. All these ideas can also be ideas of avoidance. But who's the protagonist? Who's the central character of that?
A kind of me, like the usual, the
Yeah.
habitual me sense.
Yes. Dive into that. Dive into that and see if you find something. Don't avoid that. So, I want to run away, or the me wants to run away. Find the essence of this me.
It's a sensation, maybe.
A sensation which we got used to labeling. But remember the mind's trump card, it will convince you that your presence itself is a limited presence of me.
Can you say it again, please?
Mind's the main trick or the trump card of the mind is to convince you that your unlimited presence, the presence of God itself, is the presence of me. See? And then spirituality becomes so convoluted because once we label that as the person, we are trying to then get rid of our very sense of being, which is the light of the waking state. You see, in the waking state, we want to get rid of the light of the waking state, and then spirituality becomes a never-ending problem, and the mind is celebrating. If it can convince you that this presence, the beingness itself is me, is a limited one, you see, and you must be free from that, you see, then we can do whatever we want, but the being is the substratum of the waking state, so you can never get rid of it. See, it's better to then examine instead and say, how is this being personal? Is it personal at all? You find no limitation to size. You find no desire except when proposed by notions. All that we assign to this me is not here in the being, unless being takes on the pose of being something. It's not naturally present.
I'm again trying to understand. It's like in and out, something like this. I'm trying to understand what you're saying. And
When you don't understand, are you lost?
no, I'm lost when I'm trying to understand, but actually.
Kind of. But if you notice it, then you're not. You see, if you're noticing it and you're seeing the mind's attempts to try and solidify the story, then actually noticing nothing gets solidified. And the good news is what? That even if it is completely solidified, next moment you're free. That's why we're trying to solve the simplest problem in the world, which is also seems like the most difficult one. Isn't it? Because it's already solved.
Yes, yes.
So the problem is solved, but we are solving the solved but. We're solving the but part of it. So if you just take to heart that everything that follows the but is a narrative and it's an invitation to the mind, just forget about it, whatever it may say. Oh, but the mind is trying this now. Oh, but energetically I feel this now. Oh, but there's an attempt for this now. Once you recognize that your starting point is freedom and not your destination, the spiritual journey becomes very, very, by definition, non-existent. If you take on the presumption of a limited starting point, then you've already walked on a journey to delusion, you see, looking for an antidote. As I keep saying, before you can embark on the search for the self, can you first confirm that you have lost it?
It's just an idea.
Yes.
They're only ideas.
Don't track your progress. Don't have a checklist for freedom. Don't try to be in a particular state. Very, very.
Thank you, Father. I love you so much.
We love you.
Thank you.
Thank you, my dear. Okay, let's go to MK for a moment. The two MKs. We'll go to Marin in a bit, but we'll go to MK. Sorry. Are you able to join, my dear? Okay, doesn't seem like she's able to join. Let's go to Marin. It's funny that both of you were MK.
Namaste, Father.
My dear, namaste.
Yeah, great joy in my heart to be here and in your presence in this moment. As always, it's spectacular, you know, in a way. Yeah. Something gave me the urge yesterday to really check in and share with you, but now over the course of the satsang, I'm also kind of really sensing like, is this necessary in a way to really feel what's alive now? Yeah. So let's see, take a moment to feel.
Yes, take your time.
Thanks, yeah. Yeah, I'm happy to share actually this report. And it's a little bit into the story of my life. So yesterday I met currently life put me in position of a coaching students here at university.
Nice.
And yesterday I had interview with one of these students. And so there was a moment, it's quite reflective kind of, it's not about content, it's quite like a reflective kind of a talk.
Yeah.
And there was a moment that I really felt strong resentment in me, in something that I saw in him. Like I would even say, if I can find the right word, like what's the word, like walging, I don't know the English word. There's a really good Dutch word, but I don't think you understand. It's like repugnant, like repulsed. This is the word. Like really repulsed by something that I saw in him, and I just sat with it, and I really felt like, what is this that I feel now?
Yeah.
And it made me reflect actually on my past a bit, and so. It's part of my life, but that I studied economics. This is like before Guruji came in my life. I was really like immersed in this field of economics, which is such a strong field of self-interest in this very personal way, like profit and power and money and all these aspects of life are really like, it's the main drive there, Yeah. So I was really, it became my reality actually, and my filter, on myself and the world. And then all through it, I always felt this hint like this is not full, I'm not fully in this. I'm not like, I always had this sense. And then at some point, by grace, my deeper prayer was answered, and Guruji came into my life, and my eyes opened up basically, and my experience and my sense of life and myself in the world just moved beyond this field. But yesterday in speaking to the student, I kind of realized that in that I also kind of pushed something away in a way from myself, which is this also part of life and God in a way of self-interest, power, money. Like there's nothing essentially wrong with it, and I see that in that movement of me kind of breaking out of that, I really like kind of there's a strong judgment in it, strong notion actually. And now I see, yesterday sitting it, I see how it served me kind of this movement to kind of to break from that. But now I also see that it doesn't serve me anymore. That look, that judgment of ego, you could say in a way, or like all these drives. So yeah, I'm very grateful now in this moment that I can give it words, that I can kind of affirm this inner process in a way, and burn this judgment basically of that outside of me and inside of me, that whatever it is, yeah.
That's very good, because you bring up an important point about the mind's template of what a spiritual seeker should be like. The idea that I should have only this, I should not have this, and this is how I should be, which is as much an aspect of an ego. Like the spiritual ego is as much an ego as any other ego, if not worse.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Other egos, at least, they're a little more flexible. The spiritual ego, especially the Advaita spiritual ego, is very like definitive, you see. While it is like that and it's like this, and we seem to be so clear about how life should be and how life should not be. But it's great maturity to see that all of this is also just conceptual. All of this is also just egoic. and to notice that in every expression of consciousness, consciousness can play in its own way. And there's nothing here which has the capacity to judge something as good or bad.
Yeah.
Is it? I'm saying that even if there was something which is good or bad or better or worse, at least the mind does not have the capacity to judge that.
Yeah.
And the guidance which comes intuitively is non-judgmental in the sense that it is universal and not in opposition to really anything, because everything is playing within consciousness itself.
Yeah.
So this is good to see this thing that we can have a certain set of ideas which we feel like is better for my freedom. I should only become like this, or I should only be this way. And people who are in a working life or a householder life, they are not spiritual enough, and they are walking down the wrong path, or some spiritual arrogance like that.
Yeah.
Is uncalled for, and I'm glad you're seeing that and you're transcending that. It's very good. It's very important for everyone hearing as well. There's nothing so special that we are in a quest to find God. Every seeking is a seeking ultimately. So the spiritual arrogance can be squeezed out of us.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and I just think life, and God's mystery of perfectly weaving the tapestry that I need, to see the things that need to be seen and come into the light. So it's so, unfathomable. So thank
Yes.
God for that.
Very, very, very good.
Love you, Father.
Love you, my love. Love you. Okay, let's try MK again. Doesn't look like she's able to come. Let me go to Govinda, who I don't feel like we've met here. So let me give him the right to jump the queue for a moment.
Yeah, hello. Namaste, Father.
Namaste.
Yeah, this is first time we are talking. I attended a few satsang, few of your satsang, but today after like a long gap, I think one and a half month after I am seeing you.
Take your time, my dear. Take your time. Don't rush. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. So, Father, I understand. What is the, like a meaning of here, being here. Like we say, I am here, and awareness, right? So I worked on myself also, like listening Muji, you, and Osho, and many other masters. So I worked on myself, and I did meditation, many vipassana, other meditation also. And finally, I realized, what is the meaning of being here. Then after that, I could not meditate also anymore. So I started contemplating only I who like if any problem arise, it is for whom, right?
Good.
So I did it for one or 2 year, and then then those things also start dropping.
Yes.
So today what's happening is I feel intuitively what I can see is I understand, but so there is no living experience, or I feel something, if I have to start, I'm not working on myself like I was doing before, like inquiry, contemplation,
Yeah.
meditation, or even I'm not sitting for an hour in the morning, evening for vipassana. Um, but there is so I see also uh, like I'm not staying here, and like 90+% I'm outside worldly sensual pleasure, right? And I'm not happy with it also. I'm not happy that I'm not staying. I am here, but it's not living every time. I it's so beautiful to be here.
Yeah.
No, nothing here. And I work in IT. And I'm not working from last 4 months, 5 months. I'm not working. I took sabbatical leave, and so I want to quit job. I don't want to go back. 1 month left to join, and I don't have much clarity. I took sabbatical leave 6 months to be more, grounded, and so that I become one that, yeah, I don't want to work, I don't want to go back to that structure, which
Yeah.
which has a lot of limitation, which, so that is different thing. uh, so main
Okay.
important thing, yeah, it's like
You can say, my dear, what is the important thing?
yeah, so I understand this, and but still I'm not living here. Whenever I reminded, I come here, good,
Yeah.
nothing, then no, nothing,
Very good.
right?
Very
This time also I understand whatever I am talking to you, I'm so I don't know.
good, good, good. So you gave me some good clues, and we can start a conversation based on that, and then we can modify it based on what is resonating and what is not resonating. So, um, firstly, I don't feel like you're doing badly at all. You're doing well. You're following the masters. You've tried self inquiry. You've come to insights about yourself as awareness. You've transcended the mind at times. You see? Now, what seems to be happening, and this is just, it's not a diagnosis, it's just a conversation starter. So, what seems to be happening is that there's the conceptual I or the ego I is trying to now juggle between your spirituality and your work life, and trying to find the balance, and how do I always stay here. You see, so it is almost as if the non-existent ego is now trying to help you resolve your life. You see, but in the inquiry, the I that you found, or what you found yourself to be, you see, uh, is there really another one compared to that? And if there isn't another one, then who is trying to manage life or their existence in this life?
Go back,
So,
थोड़ी देर में आना, थोड़ी देर, दरवाजा लगा, sorry.
fine, my dear. I have two teenagers as well. So who are we trying to help? Whose problem are we solving? Is the self-inquiry such that I can discover an aspect of myself which will help my idea of what my life should be? Or is the self-inquiry to come to the truth of what I am? And then automatically the tentacles with which we want to control this life get chopped away. What is your insight into that?
Can you repeat again? Last
Yes,
line?
yes. I was just saying, I'm not sure if I'll be able to repeat. I usually forget everything, but let me see what comes. So, is the self-inquiry such that we discover something so that this I, which wants to have a certain standard of life or the way of living, so it can achieve that? Or is the self-inquiry bringing us to a point where we discover ourselves to be that to which the idea of controlling any aspect of life seems alien?
Yes, second thing. Yes.
Second. So if it is that, then who are we attempting to help now? You see, because if this life belongs to the self, if it belongs to God, then we can allow God to run it the way it wants. Who is concerned about what texture life may take? We can start even simpler than that. So we have a sense that I was doing inquiry, I was doing meditation, I was doing vipassana. Now I'm not doing. Can we identify this doer or non-doer?
Yeah, even now, when I am trying to think, understand, and reply you, even now,
Yeah.
I can see the doer.
Yes,
And
as a
then
sort of conceptual creation, isn't it? As a
sometimes
sort,
there is blank.
yeah,
Sometimes there is blank. Uh, like even when I come back to here,
yes,
or when I am lost, forget about here-ness and busy in worldly life,
yeah,
and then I again come back here. I choose to be here, and so this is these both oscillations are also seen sometimes. But my heart is like let this be finished now. How long will it go? This oscillation, and is it something that I'm not giving my best? Is it something that I go somewhere for 1 month, or I do completely first finish this, then start something else? Like this
yeah.
thing goes on sometimes, and sometimes it says nothing. I have to serve my family and uh, uh, do my karmas. So the mixture of this thing goes on.
So my first advice to you would be to completely surrender. First advice would be to completely surrender. Everything that is happening is the Sadguru's problem. Everything that is happening is the Sadguru's grace. You see? Nothing you have to do or deal with or sort out. You see? Allow yourself to be fully open and empty in that surrender. Which means surrender does not mean if I surrender to Guruji, then my life will go where I want it to go. You see? Surrender means that outcomes, actions, everything is surrendered. So fully let go. If that complete surrender seems like too much, it seems like too much, my temperament is not that, I am more of an inquirer, then I would suggest that you take your inquiry to fruition to a point that every time you start believing an idea about yourself, which is in the narrative, which is like you are a body mind, you see, then that becomes less and less, and it becomes laughable over a period of time. You see? So if you feel more comfortable with the inquiry to investigate who you are, you see, then stay with that to such an extent that when you pick up the wrong idea about yourself as somebody limited in time and between birth and death, then you see, when you check, you are able to immediately drop that. So don't give up on the inquiry. You see, if surrender does not seem natural to you, so surrender means whatever proposals the mind is making, we allow it to be the Sadguru's problem. Yeah.
Actually, both are same thing. What you said.
Very, very good. Yeah. Yeah. So and like that, come to this point where uh, the there's a lot of like self-concern for this non-existent one, which will get dissolved in the surrender and the inquiry. Like, what should I do now? Am I dropping it? Am I missing it? I don't want to be lost again. I want to finish it. All these proposals, who is the I? Who are you taking yourself to be? Not the reality of what you discovered in your own inside. No? It is still the one which is proposing this limited body mind identity. What is time for the infinite one? When you say, now how long will this go on? I want it to be over. Whose tantrum is that? Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it gives you momentum to inquire even deeper. But if it's just like a frustration thing, no, I don't know how long does this even work. Should I just go back to normal life? This thing is all, not working. You see, this kind of frustration. We're just buying into an idea about ourselves which is contrary to your own discovery about yourself. Because you say that I have seen my reality as awareness.
Yes.
Now, so my tip would be, don't make an understanding out of that. Every time, you see, because then what will happen is that you're limited, the understanding of yourself as a limited you and an understanding of yourself as awareness will have a fight. You see, but that is not what we want. We want the understanding of you as limited you to drown in the insight of yourself as you really are. So the truth doesn't have to be remembered actually. So you do not create a conceptual Mahabharata in your head. You see, what you're doing is anytime you start yourself taking your limited being too seriously, then you just look and say, okay, who am I? What am I? And you recognize that you are this awareness. And then once you see that the main character which the thoughts are proposing you to be doesn't exist at all in the first place, then you will find it very difficult to take those thoughts seriously. You see? You'll just laugh at them. So stay with your inquiry, stay with your surrender, and don't try to convince your mind about whether they are effective or not. Okay? That's where trust comes in. That's where devotion comes in. That the masters are pointing you to this. You do not take the mind's diagnosis about your progress and things. They are bound to work. They are working already very well. That is why the mind is throwing bigger tantrums. If there was no danger to its supremacy, then it would not throw tantrums. If there is any trouble in any aspect of the inquiry, I'm always available, always happy to answer those as well.
Okay.
And the one tip I want to end with is it will give you a lot of space, a lot of freedom, is that don't check on your spiritual progress. Let that be the master's problem.
Okay.
Like this judgment about 90% of the time I'm out and only a little bit I'm in. You see, you don't even remember 90% of the moments in your life. How can you make that judgment? Maybe it is the other way around. You cannot really say. We may say, see, but yesterday I got so angry, or yesterday, I was feeling so lustful, or something like that. And based on that, we may make a judgment about ourselves. But actually, just a few moments don't define life. Maybe the rest of the day you were completely open and empty. So leave that tracking and that progress to the Sadguru, which is taking care of everything. And when we were children, then our job was to study and follow what the teacher was saying, and the teacher's job was to give the marks and all. Now we want to have the teacher's job also and the student job. So you follow the teacher's instruction, let the teacher do all the spreadsheet and report card and tracking.
Yes.
If you have fallen back into identification, rather than thinking more about identification, why I got identified, all of that, use that opportunity to let go of that identification fully in that moment, instead of analyzing the past. Like I was saying to someone the other day, and I feel like it's a useful pointing. When you're identified, you're identified. So you are suffering, suffer. It's okay. When you're not identified in that moment, what most of us are doing in spirituality are thinking about the times we got identified and beating ourselves up for those times and saying, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I get identified again? My masters have told me, you see, all of that. Instead of that, meet God fully, meet yourself as awareness fully in that moment. So I was saying to someone last time that when you are not identified and you notice you got identified, what is the best gift you can give to yourself? Embrace God fully, hug God deeply in your heart. Instead of thinking about, I should, all of that is continuing the same thing, the identification.
Yes.
In the garb of trying to
Like
fix the
thinking.
identification, the mind finds a way to continue the identification through that kind of mental process. Instead of that, you notice, I got identified. Finished. It's over. You see, now God is here. Enjoy that.
Like I think sometimes why I'm not choosing to be here, and then I immediately see that it is here. There is nothing to choose. It's an idea, and I then feel, is it the mind bluffing with me? What is happening? Is it this true or this true? Or then I all this thing happening, and I'm also seeing that this is here. This thing is also going on.
What happens is because maybe there is a software engineer conditioning there, and there's software engineer conditioning here also. What happens is we try to find solutions to everything, like answers to everything in our mind. You see? Like, why does this happen? What is the root cause? What can I change? You see, all of this. But what happens is that in this process is very different. It is, you notice that you were going with the mind, and as you notice that, you drop into your heart. That's all. You drop into your presence, you drop into your being. That's it. We don't have to fix anything there because there is no solution over there. See, soche sochna hove jo soche lakhwa. You may think and think and think 1 lakh times, but you will not find a solution to it there. You will not find God there. And discard all why questions. Why questions are all pointless questions. It puts us in time. Why means causation. Causation implies there's cause and effect. You see, that means there's time. So we're putting ourselves back in limitation. If you want a three-letter question which starts with W and H, pick the who question, not the why question.
Yes.
And don't Don't trust your mind when it is telling you you're not doing well. I can see you're doing well. Don't worry. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very happy that today I have raised my hand and talked to you.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, I was waiting for that also, but today I did it. I'm happy for myself.
Very good. I'm also very happy to meet you. Very happy.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye for now. Okay, let's go to Loni.
Hello, Ananda.
Hello, my love.
I have no camera today. I'm borrowing cameras, and today that didn't work. Is it okay?
Yes, my dear. Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. This is almost a continuation of what you talked with Govinda about, because
I see. I see.
yeah, it's like, seemingly there's these two poles. One's towards self-freedom and one's towards identification. And it's experienced as these pulls are getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And
Who's the poor one?
both ways.
Who's the poor one stuck between the two pulls? Who's getting pulled?
No one is getting pulled. No one is getting pulled. But it's like shifts, and when identification is there, there's a desperate seeking, and it's turned into being desperate now. And when opening is there, everything, there cannot be any problem.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
when identification is there,
yeah.
then firstly, in the first stage of identification, we are identified. Then what happens is that either because we start to suffer or something starts to get a bit lit up inside, we start to see that, oh, this is identification. I'm not taking myself to be real. And then what happens is, because we have spiritual conditioning, we start to beat ourselves up about why we get identified, I should not identify, all of those things.
I don't do that.
Very good. So it is done over, because what happens is that those moments of just identification and not the afterthought about identification, this part is very small actually. It is the dessert, the final course, which is the most calorie. You see? So if you're not doing that, and the minute you spot it, you sort of drop it. You see, there was identification. Fine. Then you'll see that that does not have so much pull, like the mind may be convincing you that it's very strong. But if you're noticing for yourselves that there are moments of identification, but when they're over, you're not trying to problem solve it, you're just out of it, then you're not doing badly at all. And the pull towards identification is not as strong as your mind may convince you that it is. Because no mind is that powerful. No mind has that much momentum. You see?
No, I don't think it's mind, or there's no me here to do it. So I'm blaming God. No, it's just, there's such a longing, and it's so painful, and it feels like the heart gets broken again and again and again and again. And but what I wanted to ask you, Ananta-Ji, was, because it's seen that in the openings, there's this absolutely bliss. That's the only thing I can say. And maybe there's some sort of an addiction to that. Addiction, like a peekaboo. You don't like the blanket over your face, but wow, when it's lifted, wow. and therefore it goes on and on and on. I don't know.
A very good point. That's a very good point, and I've not mentioned it for quite some time. So I'm happy you brought that up. You see, so what happens, and this is the downside of spiritual experiences. So what happens is once we see, and there's so much spaciousness, and many times we experience joy, great bliss, great love, you see.
Yes.
And what happens is that the byproducts sometimes don't last. You see, they're not constant. So then we feel like, oh, but that was really nice. You see, that was really nice. So my advice always is to, the truth is worth it for itself.
Yeah.
See? Even if it came with no sweet byproducts. See? We are not willing to live a lie anymore. And that is the quest for freedom or the quest for the self. It is worth it just because it is true. There's a longing for what is true. And all the byproducts which are sweet are just a bonus on top of that. So I'm not saying have an aversion to them, but don't judge anything based on whether bliss is there or bliss is not there. Don't judge anything on the basis of any byproduct. Just clarify to yourself in that moment, am I aware now? Or can I stop being now? Is God here now? Where is my presence? Any of these questions which you know very well now. So just use that, but don't make any benchmark or state of progress about yourself based on any appearance which is sweet and has a particular sort of taste. You see, love the neutrality of the truth, and everything else is allowed to come and go.
Can I ask you how can there be only truth and no byproducts?
No, I'm not saying that it should be like that. I'm saying
No,
that
no.
allow the byproducts to come if they have to, or not come if they don't have to.
Yeah.
So sometimes it can seem too sober. No? It can seem too sober. Oh, this is it. You see? And then the mind might throw a question, but this can't be it. Where is the love? You see, so this kind of thing. Then it's the truth can just play in a completely sober way, and sometimes in a completely blissful. It's completely fine. And actually, the truth, as we are speaking about it, the capital T truth, is untouched by either state, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, I know. I know. And that's what's so crazy, because in the opening, I have no words for it. And there's only truth.
Yeah.
None of what I've talked about is true.
Yeah.
And none of it matters. And then when identification shows up, oh, it's like going from heaven to hell. It's really tough, physically tough. Yeah.
You define the human condition. You define the human condition very well. But I feel in my heart that you're transcending it very well. And that is a prediction and a blessing. And don't worry. Even may the moments of identification also get lighter and lighter. As long as you are not measuring them and you allow them to be the Sadguru's problem, it will be that way.
Yeah, thank you. So can I, very shortly, because, and that's really a mind idea. Because
Can you?
Can I ask you, and what I'm going to ask you is really an idea from mind, not from mind, but you know what I mean. Because there's been this sense of ripening and ripening and ripening, like a fruit on a tree. And there's been this, when identification has been here, there's been this awaiting of dropping the tree. And then on one of my walks, I saw one of these fruits that actually stuck so much to the tree that it just, got dry and just stayed there. And I thought, oh, that cannot happen. I have to drop.
Yes.
Please, can I have your blessing for that? Oh, Ananda, I don't want to do this. Yeah.
And like I said, the most important thing in this, and we may not realize how important it is for you not to track how much you are ripening. You see, because the
Yeah.
mind convinces you from the beginning of spirituality, most people are always convinced that they are almost there. And it could be 50 years and we are still almost there. So the trouble is the idea that we pick up about ourselves when we make a spiritual conclusion about ourselves. You see?
Yeah.
So my full blessing and my full prediction is there that it is happening. But the only condition is if you don't make any report cards about yourself.
Yeah. I won't.
Very
Thank you, Ananda. Thank
none
you.
that you take, none that you take seriously anyway. If you come to satsang and you just share because you want to express something, that is fine. But
Yeah.
nothing that you're taking too seriously for yourself.
No. No. Thank you. Love you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to Audroni. Sorry, I forgot how to pronounce.
Namaskar, Guruji. Good to see you. Miss you very much because I really have a question, but just felt to come up because it's been a few months since last time I talked to you, and I don't know. I listen to a lot of your satsangs, and it seems that other people, my brothers and sisters, they are able to express those questions. I even didn't know I had those questions, and they just say it aloud, and you give answers like to them, but just to me, like you talked today, like you said that you just talk to the human conditioning in a broad sense. So thank you for that, because I really feel that you taken like layer by layer, you know, all the burdens from me. And
So good to hear that. Very happy to hear that.
yeah, and I cannot stop listening to you, because I know sometimes, you know, there's some doubt, because I really cannot. Earlier I was able to meditate. Now I would rather watch your satsangs than meditate or inquire. I don't know, is it good?
It's fine because most things which are being spoken in satsang, if not everything, is a guided self-inquiry. If we are just in satsang and we are understanding a lot conceptually, then our satsang experience still has to deepen. So as you are coming to satsang, actually the meditation is happening in the questions which are posed to you, in the responses that come from here. You see, the meditation, the inquiry is all happening during the time that you listen to satsang. So you're not giving up something in return for something else.
Yes, because I feel like this, because like with you, with your guidance, I feel like it's better than I can do it on my own. Thank
You're
you.
good. So welcome. So welcome. What do you want to share about what you are discovering now, listening to satsang? Is there insight about what you are? Is that apparent now? How is it going for you?
Well, maybe I have to say that sometimes,
Yeah.
but you know, like from you, I really clearly heard the message that everything is the master's problem. You know, leave everything to the master, and I'm very glad to do this, because earlier somehow I was trying, even in meditation, somehow to understand, to do something with the problem. Now I would rather surrender, and it brings a lot of space and freedom and joy. So I cannot say that I do this, you know, in every moment of my life, but like we just speak, I cannot measure all those moments.
Yes.
So I just feel that with you, just my life is opening. And sometimes I really feel this somehow there's no me.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
So happy to hear that. That's my heart. All here. Thank you. Let's go to
Hello.
hello. I lost you now. Is your internet bad? Is it for everyone like this? They can't hear her, or is it just my connection? For everyone.
Can you hear me?
A little bit now, my dear. It's still a lot of
I
breaking.
can put on my earphones if it's not good like this.
This is sounding better now. Actually, this is okay.
No, it should be better here, but let me
Yeah.
try the earphone. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yes. But I don't see you, but that's fine.
Okay.
We lost you now. She's not in the room anymore. Okay, we'll come back to Devi in a moment. Let's try MK.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, sir. Sir, can everyone hear me?
Yes, yes. You want to not have everyone hear you?
I wanted that, but I have a question for you.
Yes, but right now I'm just making it clear that I can hear you.
Yes, understood, sir.
Good.
Sir, have you checked your chat messages, please?
Not really. Read your question and not read it out loud. Just answer you. Is that what it is?
No, sir, you can just read it and then I'll just talk it out.
Okay. I see. Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yes. Sir, do you believe in spirits?
So I don't believe so much in belief, but that may not appeal to you so much at this point. So, in God's kingdom, in the play of consciousness, every expression of consciousness is not just possible; it is completely tasteable. It's completely tangible. So, but the important thing about that is that can appear within consciousness can truly be in opposition to God's will or the will of consciousness. You see? So, whatever experience you may be having or not having, it is all part of the play of consciousness, and it can never truly be strong enough or big enough to hurt consciousness itself. You see? So, many things show up in our life which may attack our identity, may attack our belief system, may attack our body mind idea about ourselves. But
Yes, sir.
you, um, if you rest in the true presence of God,
Yes, sir.
then all this experience which you may be experiencing
Yes,
will
sir.
be experienced as small popcorn. So because nothing, there is no force in the universe which is greater than that which is the projective light of the universe itself, and it is
Yes,
that
sir.
projective light which is
Yes,
your
sir.
very presence, which is your very being. So nothing can
Yes, sir.
hurt. Just like no scene in the movie hurt the light of the projector. So
Yes,
whatever
sir.
may be recorded and may show up on the screen,
Yes, sir.
it cannot hurt the screen and it cannot hurt the projective light.
Yes,
So
sir.
all of this play of love is
Yes,
happening
sir.
in the screen of consciousness, in the light of consciousness, and
Yes, sir.
all happening by the will of God. So
Yes, sir.
uh, as you are discovering your God presence, as you are
Yes, sir.
discovering your divinity in your heart, then
Yes,
you will
sir.
realize that nothing can come in this world which can hurt us or harm us or scare us. Everything, in
Yes, sir.
fact, you will find is you can refer to it as a child of yours because you are this consciousness. You see?
Yes, sir.
So don't have any fear about anything that is coming. You just stay in your holy presence
Yes,
and
sir.
and just give love to everything. Although it may sound difficult,
Yes, sir.
just have a loving attitude towards anything that may be appearing
Yes,
for you,
sir.
and
Yes, sir.
you'll notice that there is nothing for you to fear.
Please. Yes, sir.
Fine. And my full love, my full blessings are there, and all my prayers are to Guruji that whatever is afflicting you, may it become light as a feather. May you not suffer for the affliction may be
I needed that, sir. Thank you for your help, sir.
so welcome. So
Thank you, sir.
don't worry. You have Guruji's grace with you, and don't worry about anything at all.
Thank you, sir.
And one final tip for you is that try to conceptually decipher too much. Don't try to uh, understand too much about what this is. See, nobody can really make judgments about it. You see,
Yes, sir.
and your mind thinks sometimes it will say like this kind of thing to you. Other times it will say the imagination. All appears is in the projected light. Is
Yes,
the
sir.
is part of the projected light of consciousness.
Yes, sir.
In the complete control of consciousness.
Yes, sir.
As you carry this God in your heart, as you
Yes,
carry
sir.
the Satsang presence in your heart, no
Yes, sir.
harm will come upon you.
Thank you, sir.
Very so well. So
Thank you, sir.
always welcome. And Sumer is in touch with you, and you can always write to him, and he can call me or he can message me.
Whom, sir? Sir, I'll need some help.
Sure.
Whom, sir, should I connect with, sir?
I know that Sumer is already in touch with you, so he
Yes, sir.
one of the sweetest Sangha members we have. So I'm sure he can help you as a Sangha brother in a very beautiful way. And
Thank you, sir.
he'll keep me posted about how you're doing,
Yes,
and
sir.
you'll be just fine. You'll be just fine.
Thank you, sir.
Most important is don't fear.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Very good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Let's go to Sneza. I don't know if I'm pronouncing correctly, my dear. Sneza?
Neja, yes.
Yeah?
Thank you, Ananta. I'm preparing myself to come to raise hand already for a few weeks, and now I said I have to do it. I have to expose this stronger and stronger believing back to the person, mind, and just rarely I can, through your guidance, can you be aware, or are you aware of perceiving my hand or so, that I can be what I know I am. And it is like I'm somehow like I have this beliefs in mind, in that the mind can be very strong, and it is like I'm picking up from Mujiji and from you the pointers for making my mind stronger in a way. And it's hard to let it go, and now I can't even come to a position of I don't understand and not understand. It's not understanding, but what is open and empty. It is not. It's like these openings which were so such a blessing, like they are closing up, and I'm in a not a good position. So I ask you for your help or guidance or blessing or whatever.
Thank you. Thank you for that report. And thank you for coming up. Sometimes there can be a lot of fear or apprehension about how we will present ourselves, what we will say. You see, but I'm happy that you did come up today. Now, let's really look at this. You say that it's so difficult to be open and empty because the mind's presentations, representations are so strong. You see? But I want to really look at this. Now, suppose the idea was the opposite. You see? So now you have to be as closed and not open as possible. And the next moment, no matter what happens, you cannot be open and empty. Okay? So can you do that? This moment, you be completely closed. Don't be open. I can't see your face so well. Is it possible to change the angle a bit? Yeah.
Is it better?
It's a bit better. That source of light, can it be reduced at the back? There's a window or something.
I will close the curtains. Is it better?
Oh, much better. Much better. Very good. Very good. So now, don't try to be open and empty. Try to be closed and identify. This moment, right now, be closed. Tell me if you succeed. Tell me if you succeed. So you can notice that the mind's representation of the problem versus what your direct experience may be could be quite opposite. So of course the mind will now say, oh, it's because you're in satsang and you've come up, that's why it's not happening, otherwise you're mostly like that. Don't buy into any of that. You see?
I somehow fall in the dialogue with the mind. I like an immediate reaction that I start a dialogue.
But actually, both sides of the dialogue are the mind. You see? So don't feel like you are starting the dialogue with the mind. It is the mind posing, sometimes like this, sometimes like that. It is like two lawyers which are arguing, but both lawyers are the mind itself. You see? And sometimes a third lawyer will come, which will be the spiritual lawyer, and say, oh, that is all just the mind, which is also the mind. So just what you hear from your intuitive guidance, or from your heart, and you may not hear it as audio, you may hear it different in a different qualitative way. That is guidance which is not from the mind. Every other thought is a thought, is a mind. So don't worry about trying to resolve it. Sometimes the mind plays that way. You see, it plays that way. Sometimes it poses as if it is you on this side and you on the other side. Don't worry. Let that play continue in that playground. What is happening in the rest of you?
Like there is no rest of me in that it is like full screen, just narrative happening, and I'm mind is involved in it, and I don't recognize that. I don't discern the distance to this body mind. I take myself then as a body mind again.
Now, in times which are not like that, you see, because those are the important times. In the times, as you say, full screen, everything seems to be about that, all attention, all belief is going, it's fine. You see, we cannot avoid those. Those are fine. Now, in the times when it is not like that, like right now, what about the rest of you? The playground of the mind intellect, there can still be debates happening, but how big is that compared to the rest of your being?
It's not so big, and I must say why I had to raise my hand is that I was trying to follow through what you are saying to others, and it functioned, but somehow I really strongly felt that I have to speak with you on my own, so to say.
Yes. It's very good. I'm very happy you've come up. I'm very happy you've come up, and also that you followed through along with the conversation with everyone else. But sometimes it just feels like I have to go up now and share directly from my experience. It's completely fine. Completely fine. So the trick in this is that the mind serves as the starter, you see, which is the whole drama about judgments and interpretations, all posing as the truth. But then it comes in the spiritual pose and says, see, now that is my problem, that should stop happening. You see, but it's still the mind. And then it says, I don't know if I'm making any progress, whether I'm a worthy seeker, whether all this thing is really helping me, or where am I going? All of these are the mind. You see? So like I was saying, the times in which it seems too strong and our attention is fully on it, and there seems no way I can withdraw my belief. You see, all of it seems stuck. We are stuck. It's fine. Be stuck. You see? But on all the other times, enjoy the divinity of your presence. Don't fall into trying to fix that when that is not so strong then. And then you will notice that even that will be taken over by God. It's fine. But don't track that. Don't judge that.
It felt like, or it's feeling also, not really at the moment, but yes, in fact, that lately it's took all the screen and all the attention, and that very rarely I could come out for, let's say, normally after, I'm coming to Satsang quite regularly, and I'm following Muji, but somehow I have also, I cannot listen to invitation. I'm like when you say, don't think about this or that, then it comes strongly, and the invitations functions like that lately. So your satsangs were so rare moments of the clarity, and now like this was somehow it felt like it is closing down, and that's why I had to come.
It's completely good that you've come. I just want to remind you also that the mind has no capacity to judge where we are spiritually. The mind has no capacity to judge where we are spiritually. So that is why I leave progress to God, leave progress to Guruji, because if we keep relying on our mind judgments, you see, we are just shuttling between almost there and hopeless. You see, those are the two ends of the mind judgment about our spiritual progress, isn't it? Or even if it is saying, yes, yes, you made it, it is talking to you with a sense of specialness or as if you are somebody limited. You see, so don't fall for your mind's conclusions about how well or how badly your spiritual search is doing, especially when it is giving you feedback about, oh, the invitation is not working so well as it used to, or some idea like that, because the invitation is very direct. You see, it is very direct. The questions are asked, you just have to put on the tape or the file, and Guruji's voice is taking over, and you just, with the innocence of a child, as the answers come, not conceptually, but just from your intuitive insight, just answer whatever the answers come. So it is impossible for it not to work, just like it is impossible for self-inquiry not to work. You see? But in the mind's ideas, it can get bored. It can say, oh, but this is now, I'm just using the mind to answer. You see, the mind itself will keep complaining about the mind and say, it's not really helping me, and these kind of things. So use every opportunity where you feel like you're not completely inundated by the mind, not to think about those times that you are inundated by the mind, but to immerse yourself in your being, in the recognition of yourself as the self. And in that, you will notice that the rest of the times will also start to thin out. But if you had a bad breakfast, you see, but now it's lunchtime, but you're not eating the lunch fresh in front of you, but you're just thinking about why you had a bad breakfast, then even lunchtime is gone. You see? So any opportunity that life gives you to meet God fully, use that to meet God fully and not to dwell on the past. In that way, the mind will run out of all its tricks to play. See, because the mind cannot constantly be at you. It's not endless. Only the God is endless. Only the self is endless.
For me, it's like I come from the atheistical background, and the God for me it's truth, the real truth. So it's like I'm listening to the mind, like
complaining about the word God. Yes, I was an atheist for a long part of my life. And I can completely understand what you're saying. For me, the idea of God was for losers, like people who don't know anything, are just stupid. They believe in this notion of God. You see? And then I noticed that I had not explored my own presence. Like, who is sitting here? What word we use is not so important, but to explore whose being is here, whose presence is this. You see? That exploration is worthy. Whether you call that consciousness, beingness, you invent a new word for it, or you call it God, that is fine. That is not so important.
When you said like it is possible that also the ego takes over the being, it's like then I start to, maybe this is happening. Maybe when, it's like all this negativity is joined together, and I'm completely frightened, you know, that things are going wrongly, and that my mind is stronger, and that maybe I should give up, and I don't know. I don't know.
Yes, my dear. So if I said that, let me rephrase it. So what I was attempting to say is that the mission of the ego, or the mission of the mind, is to, in the design of consciousness itself, to play as if the presence of being is the presence of somebody personal. And who does it try to convince? Consciousness itself. You see, so consciousness is playing this game of getting identified and freeing itself from this delusion. So it can never truly be trapped. And I'm sorry if I conveyed that sort of impression about consciousness. It is just in the play of Maya, the mind is designed to play as if its job is to convince consciousness that it is limited. Just like when I see the kids playing video games, there's a voice of a narrator which tells you, oh, Mr. James Bond, your next mission is to do this and go rescue this princess or something like that. You see, so it is trying to convince the player that it is James Bond. In the same way, it is the job of this narrative mind to convince consciousness that it is only this body mind. You see, that is the job. Because when you search, you find that, oh, I am here. The I amness is undeniable, but the mind will convince you that this I amness is personal. That is its job. But to see through that, you see, being in satsang, to see through that lie is very easy actually. You see? Because even to identify with your name, you need to think about it. You see? Who is here? Don't think. Right now, who's here? You see, even you see, you are here, but you're not sneza yet. You're not sneza yet. You see, for sneza, you need the thought, the label. You see? So, this limitless beingness, nameless, formless, just pure being, is just always here. So it's the mind which has the difficult job. You see, it is not the being. The being is always.
It's since I remember, so from my youth, you know, I was subtitling what is happening, and it is such a strong habit, which is hard to pull the distance toward this. This I noticed.
Don't try, as a tip, don't try to stop the subtitles. Just allow them to come and go. You be as less concerned about them as possible. You see? Because we try to stop the mind, we try to push the mind away, it doesn't work. Then it seems to come back with more force. Let the subtitles happen. You see, that's what I'm saying, that how much of your being does it take up? What about the rest of you? There's an aspect of you where the subtitling is happening, the judgments are happening, the debates are happening. But bring some focus into the rest of you when life makes a space for it. And then that space will only keep expanding and expanding. What about now? If you refer to a thought about now, it's talking about past, real stuff. Now, just now. What about now?
There are no words now.
Yes, so easy, no? So easy. Without words, are you lost? Is something missing? You see? So it is this language, these words, these labels, which have created all this trouble. So let them continue in their playground. You have the rest of the universe to play with.
Please keep me in your heart.
Always.
So that I with we, or that you come through also in this heart.
Always. And you are welcome to come up anytime, because I noticed that you can feel a bit apprehensive or shy about raising your hand. So I want you to raise your hand whenever you feel like. Whenever you feel you want to, just raise it without thinking too much about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very well. Very well. Okay, let's go quickly to Shrikant. He's starting to go off a bit. See if I can give some exciting wake up answers.
Namaskar, Father.
Namaste, Michael.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I don't know what will come out of me.
Same. What a coincidence.
I've been attending your satsang since I attended Rishikesh satsang last year, and then I never raised my hand somehow. Since past few weeks, I am thinking that I have to raise my hand, but somehow as the satsang starts, I think like everything is fine. There's no point in raising. But once the satsang overs, then this thought comes again. We should have raised. You are trying to save your ego.
I'm familiar with that kind of play. I'm happy to raise.
I've seen this, Father, that everything is just things happen the way they have to happen. I mean, there is no one who can control. Maybe I have to say that I lost this control, maybe, and then
you lost it.
I feel like I lost it, and then there is this mind that I used to think that I have it.
I'm just waking everyone up also in the process. So you used to think you had it, and then you realized that you never had it.
Yes.
Okay. And this you that doesn't have it is which one now, poor thing with no control?
I don't know.
You see? That is a tricky one, no? Because it's apparently Advaita teaching that you are not the doer. But I don't like to teach that way, because that one who is not the doer doesn't exist anyway. So who is not the doer?
Maybe it's my mind. It's also my mind.
So are you that now, which is like a puppet on strings being controlled by a higher force? You see, are you just that puppet, or are you the higher force itself?
I don't know. Maybe that's the right answer, I guess.
Yeah, don't worry about right or wrong. Just expanding, you see, expanding you beyond your concepts of what you could be, and leaving you in the space of your heart rather than any conceptual conclusion is more than enough. You don't have to determine this way or that way. See, but I'm enjoying your openness in this conversation, which is fun for me to. If you're open and you can laugh at yourself, then this is very easy. This is very easy for us.
Yeah, since I raised my hand today, this thought continuously coming to me. What will you talk? What will you talk? Anyways, he's answering your questions. Then why did you raise? Yeah. And then I thought, let's see if he calls. We'll see how it goes.
Very good. Sometimes you just have to take the risk. You just have to dive in. It's very good. You see? So now you are not the doer or the non-doer. Now what is left of you?
Yes. I could see there is some tension, right? And then there is a seeing of the tension.
Yes. And what is more primal? What is more intimate to you? The seeing or the tension?
The seeing.
Now, what can appear? How much bigger can the tension become so that it can hurt the seeing itself?
I didn't get you.
Yeah, so allow the tension to expand, allow it to become big, invite it to become big, and see if there can come a point where it can become so big that it can hurt the seeing itself or attack the seeing itself?
I could see that the tension is like becoming big, but the seeing is still untouched.
Now, allow your mind to throw the worst case scenarios about anything in any realm of your existence. Outer realm, body realm, emotional realm, thought realm, imagination realm, any realm. Allow it to bring the worst to you and see if that which is aware even of perception can be hurt in any way.
Nothing is happening actually.
So, the mistaken identity of taking yourself as something which can be attacked or can be hurt or was born or is going to die, you see that it's a fallacy, right?
Yeah.
Am I forcing you into the answer?
No, no, Father.
Now what problem can remain?
I don't see any problem now.
You have to find a way to stay like this?
No, I'm just checking if there is any problem coming up.
Usually the mind will say to you, you have to find a way to always stay like this. You see? So it creates a nonsensical sort of strategy for that which you already are. For that which you cannot leave, it says you need to find a way to stay.
I didn't get this.
You see, you are only this pure witnessing, isn't it? You cannot try to become something else. With the innocence of a child, try to become something else other than the pure witnessing.
No, I can't.
Can't become. And yet, what happens after more satsang is the mind will come and tell you, no, you have to remain like that. Don't switch your state now. It has to be like this only. But you can't leave it. You see?
Yeah.
And that which you can never become, that it keeps proposing that you are. You see? And it applies these notions of doership, non-doership, all of these ideas on that.
I could still see some anxiety in me, but it's fine.
Meet every sensation, as a tip I'm telling you, meet every sensation without its label. Because you never experience the same thing twice anyway. Our mind's labels, like I said in the beginning of satsang, are just so that the mind can deal with what is appearing, not to help you. You see? They are just to be able to allow the mind to storify, to make narratives. So when it says, oh, this is anxiety, that is also anxiety, but they're two very different vibrations. You see? It just uses some broad terms. Like Guruji says sometimes that suppose you were going on a holiday and you're very excited. So you say, I'm so excited, I'm so happy, I can sense this excitement. But if you're feeling the same sensation before you were going to make a speech or something, you would say, oh, I'm so nervous, there's so much anxiety. You see? So we cannot, our mind actually cannot determine these things. Just allow these sensations to play out and meet them as empty as possible of all the labels. Then you will see that nothing is in opposition to you. You see? Because first it will say, oh, there's anxiety. Then what will it say? You predict. You see? You predict. First it's determined something to be something it is not. And then it will tell you, you have to fix that. Only if you fix that, because Ananta-ji is not feeling anxiety. So he is free. When you are through with your anxiety, you can be free. You see? So it's proposed a non-existent problem, a non-existent appearance, and then made a problem out of it and said, now you fix that, then yourself the fancy.
But somehow, Father, why this trust doesn't come that easily? I often ask, who is that who has to trust? But then
Like I was telling the one earlier, which why do we have an answer to? Tell me why anything. Why do you exist? Why are you? Yeah? That is primary, no? That is primary. It is because you are, then all of these experiences are, the world is, all of this is being perceived because you are. So first answer why you are. Who has the answer to why you are?
No one.
So the answer to every other why is because you are. Why are you? So what I'm saying is you let go of the why question. It is the most pointless question. You change the why question to the who question. You see, the why question is an intellect question. The who question is a transcendence question. Why are you? Some will say it is all God's Leela. Some will say it's an evolution of consciousness. Some will say because the unmanifest wanted to taste itself in a manifest way. Some will say because love can only happen in this manifest way. All nonsense. You see? It is just answers to take the question away. Doesn't mean that there's an answer. It is the intellect's or the mind's arrogance which presumes that it can decipher the cause of creation in itself, you see, which proposes all this why nonsense. But actually, it is more relevant to ask who. Once we are able to determine who, then the why will go away.
Mhm.
So, for whom does the trust not come? Not why the trust does not come. Who is non trusting yet? Very good. Stay with this who, and next time when we meet, you come and report on this.
Sure, Father. Thank you.
He's
Thank you
like,
so much.
let off. I'm so happy to meet you. It's like talking to my biological son.
Somehow I met Muji in Tiruvannamalai. The last day of the satsang, I reported that since I saw that everything is happening the way it's happening, and Muji also saw the same. I mean, I can relate it to you because it's happened to me the same way. And then
Very, very. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let's go to Sanji. Hello.
Thank you for calling me today.
Very well.
It's also the first time that I'm speaking to you, so I just
In that way.
Hmm?
It doesn't seem that way. Maybe you've spoken in so-called person in real life or something.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm also diving in. I thought I had a question in the beginning of Satsang and then it went away. So I don't know really what I'm going to say.
What was it? In the beginning of Satsang, what was it?
In the beginning, I wanted to expose some trouble I seem to be having. Maybe there's something in it, so I'll just say anyways. So I just returned to university last week after 2 years without studying. And I have to read lots of things and think about questions, and there's lots of information and content. And I find myself that resisting a little bit. I feel like I don't want to think so much about those things, and I'm not able to remember a sentence. I'm reading the beginning and I forget at the end, and it takes a lot of energy and thoughts to do those things. So yes, I just wanted to put that at your feet, and it's okay. I feel everything is fine. But yes.
It can be a bit of a strange experience to go back to studies after 2 years of a break, and you just feel like, oh, but this is so much mental overload, and then I have to memorize things and things like that. It can feel a bit strange, but meet it as much as possible from the spaciousness of your heart, from the space of the unborn, from the open and empty. All the worldly functioning of the body and the mind can happen in its most natural way, without identifying with anything at all. You see? So if consciousness moves the body in such a way that it goes to university, and it moves your mind in such a way that these facts are getting memorized and learnt up, it's fine. It can do it very naturally. Every role that it creates for itself in this human play, it can play in its most beautiful way. Just you don't identify with either student or not student. You identify with the one who's resisting any of that. You see, I don't want to do this. This is pointless. I just want to be free. You know, these kind of ideas are still referring to you as if you are somebody. So don't fall into that sort of spiritual trap, which tells you, no, 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 no. You see, if it naturally moves in that direction, that is fine. I'm not saying you have to only study or something, but don't have like spiritual identity to take you away from your life as it is functioning in its natural way. And similarly, don't pick up on a student identity that I have to be the student and I have to do that. Just allow. You see that in the allowing, just like the body takes care of itself, the heart beats, you see, and the breathing happens, all of that, then consciousness can also make sure that whatever needs to be assimilated in the mind intellect, it can use it in its most natural way. You'll be just fine. Don't worry at all about that. As long as you're not picking up any false identification, all this can happen naturally.
Thank you so much.
Oh, so good.
And I love you. I love you.
So happy to see you. And don't hesitate to come up anytime.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Let's go to Satyam.
Namaste, Ananta-ji.
Namaste, my love.
I have nothing in particular to. I didn't prepare anything to speak, or just and see what comes out. And it feels strange because normally there's a preparation. Okay, I will. Especially in my case, is the spiritual part, which is just like this. Just like this.
Yeah. Isn't it more fun like this? Because anything can happen. You may just say anything that you never imagined. I may just respond something which I've never said before. It's so much more fun like this. Not knowing what the next scene will be like is the best way.
This is very, because normally I would something would be that, oh, Mujiji's last words were trying to go back, but I said, okay, I'm just going to leave it open, just like this now.
Yes.
If the thing is there anything missing? There's nothing missing. It's just a complete sense of just being here.
Yes.
And I really, it's the first time I'm doing this, because it's a quite. I don't have any agenda to talk now, though I can go to agenda and talk about it, but I don't have any agenda, and I'm not going to the agenda actually. That's
very good. Very good. The unborn life is the no agenda life.
It's very strange that this to talk to you, to sense you in this, that this is what is called the heart or self or whatever you want to call it.
Even this we don't determine actually. It's very beautiful, but even this is okay, no? It's open. Because the mind can grasp at some spiritual agenda then quietly and say, acha, true meeting is like that only. So then quickly it becomes an agenda for next time. You see?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Just
Yeah.
what here doesn't need any deciphering. You see? Love doesn't need any deciphering. Being doesn't need any deciphering. Truth doesn't need any deciphering. We don't need to determine connections or non-connections. So beautiful without any of that support system or crutches.
Because on my walls there are images of Papaji, you, Muji Baba, and all these saints, and looking at them, that there's always that was the sense, I have to reach that one day. I will be like them. I will be like them. You know.
You should look at them and say, that one is done. That one is done. So this one will play a unique expression of consciousness. I used to wonder why in India we have this tradition. No? And initially, maybe somebody asked me also, because initially a lot of foreigners were coming and staying here in Bangalore to be in Satsang. And one of them may have asked me, why do you have these photos of sages and masters on the walls? And I just felt like they're very good reminders. Anytime we get caught up in the mind, we just look at Bhagwan's photo and we just, just like that. Yeah? Just to give some sort of reasoning for something which has no reason. But don't feel like you have to climb that mountain or achieve something. Your being is fully being, as much being as it can be. You see, there is no progress possible on that. Your unadulterated being, which means uncontaminated by limited thoughts about yourself, is as sage-like as Bhagwan itself. But if you try to make it into like a narrative with steps and achievement and goals and things like that, then it becomes all convoluted and strange.
Because there was that try that I want to be like them. I can never be like them. I can only be me, or me with a. I can just be this, whatever I am.
Yes. So your being is completely one with them. You are them. You see, you are them already. In your outer expression of this being loves variety. So let that be how it is playing out. You see? We don't have to emulate the outer expression of everything, because being will play. All the masters themselves have different expressions. Even the masters in our tradition, all of them have such unique and beautiful expressions.
Yeah.
And yet, in the heart, they are one being. It's the one Sadguru presence. Don't put any sort of pressure on yourself to be like this one or be like that one. You're very well. You're going very well.
I can intuitively feel your heart. It's very beautiful. Thank you.
All my blessings. I'm there with you.
There's no. Of course, there are certain outside, just to pick up some outer circumstances. I'm living in just to I don't want to take some, because there might be some other people who want to come. I'm living in Denmark for last 25 plus years, and there's a movement towards moving back to India.
I see.
and the government of this country is offering some money, something like 22 lakhs to go back. take the money and chalo, वापस घर जाओ. Yeah, so there is that movement, there is that topic in and out, and looking at my body condition with the stent and the heart and the medical system, there is that. And normally I don't like to bring this up, but I just leave it up to this, that it will solve itself, whatever this is.
Yes.
Because normally talking about these little things, intuitively I know that if you catch the highest, then these little down things, they somehow will solve. What will happen.
Yes. All this, Guruji's grace, all will get resolved, and only auspiciousness will flow through. Only auspiciousness will happen. Full blessing.
Thank you, Ananta.
Very good. Let's go to Ladia.
Hello, Guruji.
Oh, hello. Good.
Yeah, yes.
I haven't seen you in a bit. I mean, I have seen you, but not asking a question.
Even to to last satsang, I didn't come. We are still with Brahman Santiago. We are still in Sahaja.
Yes. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
I thought to come today. I don't know. Right now it's not so present, but it's my birthday. So.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Happy birthday. And we'll sing for you. Just at the closing. But all my love, all my blessings. Such an auspicious birthday, you and Sahaja at Guruji's feet. And life is already endowing you with so much auspiciousness. And my blessings are that may that just expand and expand till you're covered fully in the truth. And freedom, love, peace, joy, may all of them be in service to your truth.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So,
thank you.
Very
good. Right now, like there is no problem, even though sometimes during the day, it is. I don't know. Right now, I don't feel to bring anything in so much. Somehow.
You can write to me if something is strong later. You can write to me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So much love. Okay. Please remind me to sing happy birthday.
Thank you.
Okay, let's try Devi again. Did you change your computer, my dear?
Oh.
Hello.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. I don't know what to say.
The weekly report.
Yeah, just the weekly report. Actually, I wanted to say something because I felt like there is like a fear sometimes to share something good or to speak that something is some good things that come inside, and then there's so much fear about sharing about that because one part I feel maybe it will go away if I speak about it. I just want to like keep it inside.
That sounds like a very Indian superstition. In India also we have the superstition that if something is good, talk about it. As if God is just waiting for us to talk about it and then he'll take it away.
Yeah, but I feel like I could see many little things, good things happening inside, like little insights or some.
Yes.
And it's not big, but it's very like essential in a way, these little things. And also the talks we had, they are like still working inside. I feel you told me a lot of good things that I can still be with them. And even though sometimes I feel like I don't understand all of the things you say, or maybe even just a few, but these few, I can just stay with this few, and that's the most important. And the biggest thing is like everything is master's problem. So then, yeah. And I just hope that things go on, continue to grow and to be more like open, and yeah.
What problem is that?
Yeah.
Very good, very good. I'm very happy to hear this report, and I'm very happy to hear you laughing and smiling. Very good, very good. Very good. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Is master's
That's
problem.
good. Thank you. And
Very
please stay with me.
Always, always.
Master's problem. Thank you.
Very good. Let's go to Amrita, Vansanga.
Namaste, Father.
Yeah, dear.
Just wanted to say I love you, Father, so much, and
You
thank you so much for everything. Nothing much today. Everything is just perfectly fine the way it is.
Very good. When are you coming?
Tuesday, Monday.
Yes. Monday. Very nice. Very good. Very good. Love you so much.
Thank you so much, Father.
All my love to Kanpur Sangha and to all your family and friends.
Thank you so much, Father. Love you so much.
Let's go to Dave.
Hi, Father.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you, my dear.
Yeah,
How was
yeah.
it?
Say again?
Did you have a good Vipassana program? You were going for a Vipassana.
Yes. Yeah, it was really beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. I just wanted to bring to you, at the moment I have so much exhaustion. So much exhaustion. And I have this thing about, even when you mentioned the Vipassana there, when I sit and meditate, I can sit and I can focus on the physical sensations of the body like they tell you to, but there's so much, I end up sitting as the awareness a lot of the time. And then I think it brings this kind of confusion between the two. And I just kind of wanted to ask for your guidance, because I feel now there's so much more, wherever I am, I'm just resting as awareness.
Yes.
But then so much stuff is coming up like a whirlwind, like being in a relationship, it's bringing so much to the forefront. So there's this kind of oscillation between sitting as awareness, but then just being in this washing machine of this person. And I just kind of wanted to come to you and lay it all at your feet, but just ask, like, what do you feel like? What is the best way for me to go? And, you know.
Thank you for that. And I'm so happy to see you. It's been quite a while, and I know we've not been able to connect so easily on WhatsApp, and so I'm so happy you're here. So let me first repeat the question in a way to see if I've got it correctly. So when you say I'm sitting as awareness, you're obviously saying that you're not taking yourself to be the limited body mind which the mind is proposing you to be, and as you're not taking yourself in those false representations, the fact that you are this awareness is apparent to you, and you find it quite restful and natural to be like that. You see, so it is not that you're taking on a new position. It is just that in the discarding of the false positions, your reality is apparent. You see, now in that unborn state, the body mind is free to also function and operate in whichever way consciousness moves it. And you're saying that sometimes in the movement of that body mind, and especially in the context of relationships and things like that, it can seem like there's too much content there, and you feel like you're wondering whether there's another position with which to meet those things when they seem so strong. Is that somewhat close to what you're asking?
Yeah. I feel somehow it's just very difficult to play at this whole game of life.
Yeah.
And I find myself like, even sometimes with the fatigue and stuff, it's just doing the simplest of things is very, very difficult, you know.
Yes.
The energy that seems to run through the system, it's just
yes. The game of life is, I would say, impossible to win at as long as you're taking yourself to be that which you're not. So not only is it difficult, it's actually impossible, because whichever position we may take ends up in suffering, ends up in misidentification, misunderstandings, relationships which are troublesome, security which never seems to be enough no matter how much money we have, body which is always deteriorating, no matter how fit we keep it, it is always walking towards its final death. So the design of this play is not so that we can win at it from any personal position, no matter what that position may be. You see? So don't try to play it with a sense of winning. Play it with a sense of it being a leela, whereas every moment of its play, you see, is just meant for your entertainment, for your joy. You see, and that you can only truly take when you're not identifying as an object within the play. You see, you can only have that distance when you're operating from the unborn position. So you're doing very well, actually, where you're saying that I'm able to just remain as awareness and not take myself to be an object in this world. But sometimes the forces of the world seem so compelling that they want to pull me in. But and there will be times where we do get pulled in, and it's fine. You see, but return to your natural, true so-called position, which is beyond all positions, and that is the best way to play this game, if there is a way to play. So yes, you're not on the wrong track. You're there, and some of these things like relationships and all are bound to have some of that spice and masala. So don't try to don't try to gain any complete mastery over it or something. There's no such thing. So just enjoy the play while it is happening, and with as much openness and emptiness as possible.
Yeah, I was just wondering about like work and creativity as well, because I find myself a lot of the time, I don't enter fully into something because I always have, and this is probably just the mind, it's like, oh, what's the point? You know, what's the point? So then I stop myself from like playing at this Layla so much, and then it maybe causes a lot of kind of dryness and stagnation because I'm not fully entering into it, because I don't know what's the point anyway, you know. I'm just
I have a tip for you.
Yeah.
And this is very important, especially for those who are in Satsang, because it can feel like when we enter fully, we mean that we give it so much meaning, we're fully involved. But then what happens is, because of our spiritual experiences, we can feel like, oh, what's the point? You know, it's meaningless. You see? But what you're being pointed to in Satsang is neither position. Neither, oh, this is the point, you must achieve this, nor, oh, it's so pointless, life is meaningless. You see? Because both are actually meanings. You see? To be open and empty is neither desire nor aversion. It's neither pushing something away nor pulling something closer. And you will find that in that spaciousness, when it is time for enthusiasm to come or work to happen, it will come. And when it is not time for it to come, it won't come. But if you take a position like what's the point, then you've made a conceptual meaning out of your spiritual understanding. And that can become like an opposition or aversion to life. You see, which is not being, this is not what we are talking about in Satsang. You see, even in the recognition that this is a Leela, doesn't mean that you take a position of aversion towards the objects of the Leela. You see, the play is there, it doesn't harm us, but we are not to determine conceptually how much to participate or not, given the idea that it's a Leela. Even the idea that it's a Leela is just an idea. It is just a pointing tool just to take away the question of this existential sort of crisis about why is all of this, and then various answers have been proposed. The Leela is just one of those answers which is meant to take the question away, not truly to tell you that, oh, God was a bit bored, so he wanted to play. You know, it's not, God cannot have a desire. You see, there was no want in the heart of God to want to play. So it's a provisional answer, just meant to take away the question. But what is the answer? It is not conceptualizable. It is not expressible. But in your heart, there is no such problem. There is no such why is all of this, and what is the point of all of this. These are all the suffering of the intellect, not the problems of the heart.
Yeah. Thank you, Father. Yeah.
So welcome.
And it's really, really beautiful to speak to you again. Yeah, I love you.
Vasu is trying to say something.
I have one question. You said sometime back that mind is not capable of judging non-spiritual.
Yes.
So who is or what is capable of judging?
Your intuition, your intuitive intelligence, which we call the heart or Sadguru presence or being. You see, that will guide you. And how to go to it for guidance? When you're not so dependent on your mental judgments, that guidance will become very, very apparent and clear. You see, it is the same intelligence which is having this conversation.
Sorry, I think my question was, you said the mind is not capable of judging one's spiritual.
Yes.
So is there something else other than the mind which is capable of judging spiritual? I think you are saying about guiding.
Yeah, so in the sense of what would you do with that judgment? You would say, okay, now this is what's missing. Now what should I do to become better at it? Which is what I'm referring to as guidance. No? The mind operates under the paradigm of let's determine the current state scenario and then propose solutions. Your intuition will typically not make a judgment like that and say you're lacking in this area and just say, just go to Satsang today. Many times it may have happened with you also. You were at work got over, and something is, let's go visit Ananta-ji. Something came from, you don't know where it came from. So it just guides you in this way. So I was just saying that how to refer to this intuitive guidance, and that is the usual question that comes. When somebody says, our mind cannot determine it, but in our heart we know, or our intuition we know. The natural question to ask is, how do we go to our heart for that kind of guidance? So that's what I was saying, that anytime that you're not referring to the mind or dependent on the mind's conclusions, then your intuitive guidance, your intuitive sense will be very clear. Otherwise, why would we want a judgment about our spiritual progress? We only want it so that we can improve, we know what to do next. Some may want it just to beat themselves up or be proud of where they are. But your intuition will typically not make these sort of conclusive. Usually, everything's fine, you're doing well. Okay, let's go to Sriram and Joanne. Hello.
Hello.
Good to see you guys. Very happy. I see you sometimes in the Zoom, but I'm happy that you came up as well.
It's been a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
How is everything?
Good. Yeah.
I ask very unusual questions, obviously, because first I'll ask you to make a report, then I'll ask you where that report is coming from, and whether the mind is capable of making such a report. But that's just how this whole thing functions.
Felt to come up in front of you before, and then haven't, and then maybe felt nervous and a little bit of an avoidance, and then there's been moments of things coming up, and then it's fine, and a bit like this maybe. And today's Satsang is moment.
You had written to me a few months, or it seemed like a few months, it may be longer, but about certain challenges you were facing. Are they a bit lighter now than they were?
Yeah, lighter. It's better. There's still moments of this doubt which niggles a bit occasionally, but actually the past time, like past days, been just not interacting with them at all. It was this feeling of like I can't even be bothered to go there. Like it's so, when you get too involved into it and go with it, then it's so horrendous and you're lost in it, and like this, not nice, and it's draining. So just no, I can't be bothered, leave it. Yeah. And that was very very good. Yeah. I got a little, there was something today a bit, I feel I need to give credit for what is also like being noticed, and there is something more there than the thought.
Yeah.
Than thought. Like there is the awareness there behind. Just still, this little fear comes. Oh, there was this thought, and did I believe it, kind of thing, or I believe that was true, or something like this. And then I've like seemingly gone again, and just feeling rubbish a bit, like, but then fine, and then like this. I don't know.
It's fine. These things, little bit like that, will happen. The seeming oscillations and some self-judgment about, am I believing my thoughts, which is obviously also a thought. The yes or no, either way, is a thought. You know? So it can get us in this way from time to time. But you said very beautiful that there's more space to see that there's something beyond thought, and that is the witnessing. And the same witnessing is witnessing thoughts, is witnessing the change in emotions. And as you're exploring whether that witnessing is affected in any way by the content of what is appearing in front of it, you will also see that the fear, although will play up at times, will generally start reducing, because you will see that that which is witnessing cannot be hurt by whatever may come. And as the fear starts to deplete, you will notice that your spaciousness, your openness, all of that will just expand. So you're doing well. Continue to be in satsang. Continue to look in this way, and I'm sure both of you are supporting each other beautifully in this exploration.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see. Yeah, he's being quite stoic about it, which we'll have to pay for later. But
I just had 4 days ago. Yeah, I had operation, so I cannot sit now, and so kind of half lying. That's everything.
Operation went well, and body is good. See, you were saying, Joanna?
yeah, there's something else as well. It's maybe this like I'm not looking enough, like maybe just resting on this oh yeah, things like sometimes things are feeling good, and so you just like getting on and not checking in, or not sitting, not looking, and maybe not watching enough satsang a bit too. Yeah, I don't know.
Don't worry, you don't have to worry about that at all. Life has the built-in alarm clock, you see, and the minute you start, something is poking you, something is starting to suffer, it will pulls you back into the inquiry then. You see? So you don't have to micro manage it so much or keep track of how much satsang you're watching, or are you doing enough inquiry or looking enough. You see? You're fine as long as things are fine. You're seeming natural and open. You see? Then it's fine. You're doing well, because the mind does not have the capacity, like I was saying, to judge whether how well you're doing spiritually or not. So, but what we should not do is when some poking, some suffering starts to come, we should not try to wither it away, or just say, no, I'm the self, nothing is happening to me. You see, because something is getting picked up in terms of some false identification, some idea. So it's good to take a moment or two and say, okay, who is it? Who am I? Or who is getting affected by this particular appearance or situation? Then we're back to being light and easy. Sometimes we just keep allowing it to fester, and then it becomes really big, and then it can feel like, oh, I have to deal with this again all the way, this kind of stuff. But you can let yourself be guided intuitively more than conceptually, because especially in your case, the mind is very oppressive and will say, oh, you're not good enough, you're not doing well enough, you're not inquiring enough. You see? Don't fall for that kind of trick. You see? Don't do it. You know intuitively, like whether you're taking yourself to be something that you're not. You'll have a heart sense more than a conceptual sense, and you can follow your heart sense about that.
It feels very nice to be in front of me.
Are you in Lithuania or UK?
Yeah.
In Lithuania, yeah, we spend all summer. So.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, big love to both of you.
Yeah, lovely.
Thank you, love you.
I still remember Joanna singing the Aarti. We'll ask her to sing it one of these days.
Thank
Hey, 8:20. Let's go quick.
Hello. Thank you, Father. Here I am again. I just wanted to give some report, and I have something to offer also. The negative forces which I have opened to you before, it's still in the body somehow and working underlying. I can see this. And yeah, I offer this to you, and after my connection with someone, again, it's coming from him, and again, it was here in my body, etc. And actually, this topic of negative forces, it was just kind of my nightmare. So actually, what I realize now by this experience, it's like, even though I can observe how it functions, I also experience how I became very detached. Like, even though I can see how it really functions, something feels very detached, and it makes me so happy to find myself in that position. Like, I was kind of a dark state, which I don't experience very, very long time, like very dark state. And I wanted to check first. Pulsion was to go and to be socialized. And then I said, no, it's not time for socializing. So I just sit and I just look, and I realize that it's just a dark state. It's nothing at all. And when I see that I'm just observing the dark state, I find that it's actually a joy, because it's just an experience and I enjoyed it. And the dark state didn't vanish at all. It was there, but I was detached and I was just experiencing that state. So I'm just incredibly, of course, happy to see that, because you have given me this experience, and this must what freedom means. Whatever states come and go, they are just here, and I'm just experiencing them.
I'm very happy to hear this report. And this is what freedom is. This allow everything to come and go. And you said very beautifully that even in that, consciousness was experiencing some joy. Even in that which we call dark, that actually this light and dark, once you see that everything is in the will of consciousness, in the light of consciousness, for the joy of consciousness, there is no such real distinction like that. But even that which we previously used to call dark is all in the play of consciousness. So this is freedom.
Yeah, it's just a taste. It's just a taste, like others. And of course, I still wanted to offer whatever energy is in this body, if it has any importance, because I also see that it can affect other people. And just for the sake of this, actually, because Father, I also come to know that I want to say this too. Recently, I started to meet with people again, and it just makes me so happy. It's such a joy to meet with people, truly. And I just come to know that I actually meet with myself, and it's a joy to it's a joy to meet with myself. Like, I don't know how to put it now, but I know that you can understand me. Maybe it's a new experience. I'm not able to express it now. And it's like I'm holding the space, and it's not I'm as a person. I don't know. I just want to try to explain this so much now, but because I'm feeling everywhere, I just want to clean this space. I don't know, and that's why I just wanted to offer those energies. If like this.
I'm just going to hang on to the first part, because that takes care of the second part of your report. The first part of your report actually takes care of the second part of your report. And I'm very happy, and my full blessings and love are for that. And may you continue to deepen in the freedom. It's very, very good. Yeah, I can hear my voice is now full blank. It's, I hope the others will forgive me for us. There's some new ones also that I haven't spoken to, but if I strain this voice too much, then it goes out for weeks. So I don't want to do that. But I'm sending all of you my love, all of you my blessings. And next time, please put up your hands and we'll speak. We promised birthday song to Ladia, so I'll request the Sangha also to help with the singing of that. Let me see. Where is he? Pin. You just raise your hand, my dear. Yeah. Hindi. Let's give him the Hindi birthday song, and then maybe the English one.
बार दिन ये आए, बार बार दिन ये आए, बार दिन ये आए, बार बार दिन ये आए, तुम जियो हजारों साल, ये मेरी है आरज़ू। Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear. Happy birthday to you.
Guruji, I noticed also, and Rajan, when I went through the message, I think I noticed Rajan also has, Rajan, I think he wrote me a message that happy birthday, and that he also has, he has birthday today too. Rajan, Narayan has also birthday, but just
Is Raja still here? If you're here, just raise your hand, my dear. Doesn't look like he's here, but if you watch this later, all our love, all our blessings, and Gopala keeps me informed about you, and I'm so happy to hear the report every time. So much love, so much love. Have a wonderful, wonderful, auspicious year. Full love and blessings. Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. Sadguru Shri Muji Baba ki Jai. Guru Kripa Kevalam.